President Donald Trump's previous 4 years in office included reports of reportedly dismissive attitude towards Africans. This seemed like he cared little about what is happening on the continent concerning a number of issues that have long been challenging Africans and the involvement of the West in Africa's affairs. Ever since winning the US's recently concluded election, President Donald Trump has been making headlines with a number of reforms involving freezing foreign aid. The US has been injecting in various international organizations, specifically through USAID. With Africa being among the major beneficiaries of the US's aid, this marks as the beginning of the wider approach he has on the African continent throughout the course of his term as the President of the United States. As there are often few major material differences between the Republicans and the Democrats on US-Africa policy, the world is observing what President Donald Trump is bringing on the table concerning his views about the African continent. Even though Africa is unlikely to make it into that upper echelon of priorities, it is very hard for Trump's administration to ignore a continent rich in mineral resources and a population of over 1.4 billion people that is growing faster than any other region on Earth. Republicans, where President Donald Trump comes from, has been openly criticizing former US President, Mr. Joe Biden, as focusing on cultural issues rather than focusing on trade and business with Africa. Particularly, the Republicans mention out what they look at as the mismanaging of relationships in West Africa's Sahel region after a series of military coups from 2021 and 2023 in countries such as Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. As it is clearly known that these 3 Sahel countries expelled the West, the world is critically observing what Donald Trump's administration will do about the issue of the Sahel region of West Africa after the dismissal of the US. The Republicans blame President Joe Biden of opening the US's doors to adversaries, including Russia and China, in security and economic terms in regions such as the Sahel. President Biden's 2022 Africa strategy, which attempted to rewrite the United States script with the entire continent, fell short in its implementation. This was significantly showed by President Ibrahim Traore and his colleagues in the Alliance of Sahel States' expulsion of the US and French troops from the Sahel region of West Africa, which added to the deteriorating influence of the West in Africa. The Sahel, the Great Lakes, and the Horn of Africa regions are all embroiled in local conflicts with regional and international implications. President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, President Assimi Goïta of Mali, and President Abdullah Humani Chiani of Niger accuse the West of supporting the militant groups of disrupting peace in the region. Africa, being richly endowed with the critical minerals that the world needs to transition to green energy from fossil fuels, which it still has abundantly in reserves, it finds itself at the center of conflicts which are aimed at obtaining of these resources without mutual benefit. Unlike the West, which President Ibrahim Traore and his colleagues accuse of being dirty games players, China, among other nations which are direct opposers of the West's interests in Africa, are now quite literally dominating the region's mining scene for copper, cobalt, and lithium, gold, among others. As the Western powers have been putting focus on the mine-to-port extraction model that has historically impoverished the Sahel, since with little to no processing of mined minerals before they are exported, fewer jobs being created, technology transfer being limited, and the economic gains being not shared fairly, President Ibrahim Traore and his colleagues want to change this narrative. Since China, Russia, among other new allies with alliance of Sahel states, have no problem with this, the West showed little signs of this approach, which focuses on mutual benefit. China specifically appears more receptive to the African value addition drive than its Western counterparts, which continue to view the continent from a colonialist lens. President Donald Trump is claimed to have been the first to raise awareness about what a huge threat China is to US interests in Africa. Experts reveal that aggressive countering of Chinese influence in Africa is likely to be seen during Trump's term in office. One key focus of this transactional approach will be on starting to lock down supply chains for critical minerals in Africa, used for green energy batteries used in electric vehicles and phones. Once US's envoy in the Sahel continued to critically mention that access to the many critical minerals that Africa has in great abundance is needed for America's economy today, as well as for the technologies that will lead the whole world into the future. President Joe Biden had started on the Lobito Corridor, a multi-billion-dollar logistics and communications infrastructure project, which connects the Lobito port in Angola to the critical mineral mines of Zambia and DR Congo. This project clearly shows how the US is in dire need of African minerals. But Africans can't just be pleased by projects like these, which are looked at as promoters of conflicts in a number of regions on the continent. President Ibrahim Traore has faced a number of coup attempts ever since rising into power in September 2022. Accusing the West of destabilizing Burkina Faso and the Sahel region of West Africa at large, a fresh eye is put on how Trump's administration is going to manage the rift between the West and the three Sahel countries. The three leaders have all been continuously accusing the West as dirty games players, whose major focus is on minerals extraction while behaving as peacekeepers. Questions come through. As the three leaders continue to accuse the West of being dirty games players, will Donald Trump continue to support the militant groups as the three leaders claim, or slowly build a more transparent relationship with the Sahel? Billions of CFA francs provided to remove President Ibrahim Traore from power have been continuously discovered by Traore's government, which experts reveal come from the West. If so, will Donald Trump's administration accept such huge funding to continue occurring, if all the accusations are true? The Trump agenda, which was presaged by the publication of the controversial 900-page Project 2025 document from the Heritage Foundation, had indicated a fairly traditional approach to US-Africa affairs in its foreign policy section. However, African leaders like President Ibrahim Traore can't be easily satisfied by these claims, as the US and the West at large are looked at as exploiters. No matter what the West wishes for the Sahel and the African continent at large, leaders, for this case President Ibrahim Traore, are not willing to look back concerning taking their long-been-suffering countries ahead in terms of security plus extensive economic growth and development. As it is known that China is at the forefront of moving faster as the new global influencer, most especially economically, President Donald Trump is known to be one of the leaders who have come out directly to oppose this. But throughout his term, will he manage to stop the influence China has in Africa? Burkina Faso and his colleagues have managed to receive a number of weapons from China, which have played a major role in fighting militant groups in the Sahel. As the West has been hesitant in supplying the necessary weapons to fight militant groups, China, Russia, and Turkey, among others, have been available to the job the US and the West at large failed to do. Continued mishandling of relationships in West Africa's Sahel region by the West has a significant negative impact on US's influence in this region. As Niger is rich in lithium and gold in addition to uranium and oil, Burkina Faso and Mali are rich in gold. With no doubt, lithium and uranium are among the major drivers of the Go Green future. As the future of cars is electric, lithium is a major element of batteries used in electric cars, plus uranium being used in nuclear power plants. Countries like Niger play a pivotal role in realizing the Go Green future, which the West is part of. These three countries are giving serious headaches to the West, which President Donald Trump has to come out and justify his take on all these matters. If all the accusations on the West by the three leaders continue to prevail and coup attempts continue in the Sahel, the West and US's relationship with the Sahel will be gone for good.